good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the nice introduction. And I would like also to thank the organizer for inviting me today, and especially Pierre-André. So today, I would like to talk about muscle physiology and meat quality, because it's important also to control meat quality. I know that you are all concerned by performance and carcass composition, but I think there is really a need to better understand how the meat quality is controlled in poultry. So some words of context. As you know, there is an increasing demand in poultry meat worldwide, with an increase of 2% by year. And this is particularly true in developing countries and in some South countries. And with this evolution, there is also a rapid evolution of the market share towards cut and further processed product. So here you have a figure about the United States consumption, and you see that the consumption of whole carcass is 10% only for years now. And there is 90% of the consumption as cut and further processed product. And this is very important because of this market share, the need for quality is not the same as before. And there is many quality expectation for this kind of production, of course, in terms of meat yields, but also in terms of functional properties of the meat, and I will explain you why. In terms also of storage ability, sensory perception, nutritional value, and sometimes also consumers are concerned by the image of production system in terms of animal welfare especially. So, in the same time, the demand change, the broiler production has changed a lot. And I like this figure because it shows what selection and nutrition has produced and has changed in broiler production. And here you can see that now the modern genotypes look like this, and 50 years ago it was not the same. And the main consequence was a great gain in feed efficiency, growth rate, and also breast meat yield. And you must know that all these changes have also affected breast muscle properties. Maybe the main effect was the change in muscle fiber diameter, because the gain in breast meat yield and breast meat weight was mainly achieved by increasing the size, the diameter of the muscle fiber. In the same time, we have shown that as the fiber grow, there is a depletion in glycogen content. I mean, the energy status of the muscle has a lot decreased. We also noticed that there is, in conjunction with this glycogen depletion, a decrease in the blood supply, and especially the number of capillaries by fibers has decreased. And there is also some evidence that as the muscle grow, there is an increased oxidative stress at the cell level, and also an increased catabolism at the protein level. So, with all this change, have arisen many quality problems and many quality defects. And today I would like to give you an overview of the current quality defects. So I will talk about some quite old problems related to the variation in meat pH that are one of the major determinants of the poultry meat quality, especially at the breast level. But I would like also to talk a little bit about some new defects that are related to myopathies, and they are called white stripping because of this inclusion of fat deposition in the muscle. The wooden breast here, which is very common in Western, in Occidental countries that produce heavy broilers. And a new defect, which is called spaghetti muscle. So you can see that there is a very big problem lately concerning breast meat production. And all these defects will affect, first of all, the consumer acceptance, of course, the nutritional value of the meat, its color, its toughness, and its water holding capacity, especially when there is further processing. So I would like just to explain you why the muscle pH is important for quality. So you must know that at death, even if the bird is dead, the muscle cell continue to function, and because of this function and it still contract, there is a postmortem glycolysis, and this will lead to the decrease of the pH to a ultimate value that we call the ultimate pH or pHu. And this value is completely related to the amount of glycogen stored in muscle at death. And if this amount is high, the meat produced will be acid, while if this amount is low, the meat produced will be what we call dark firm dry. And generally, it is characterized by a ultimate pH over 6.1, while the acid meat is characterized by a ultimate pH below 5.7. So basically, this meat is quite dark, firm before cooking, but tender after. It has a dry taste, and it has a low shelf life. On the contrary, the acid meat is characterized by a very pale color. It is very exudative, soft before cooking, but very tough after cooking. And it has a low processing yield. You also have another kind of meat, which are referred as PSC meat, for pale, soft, and exudative meat. And this meat is produced when you have, for example, a big activity of the bird on the shackle line. It will hasten the rate of the pH fall after death, and the meat produced will be called PSC, because it has a very low pH early after death. But basically, you must know that the acid meat and the PSA meat in broiler is about the same, pale and exudative. So just to tell you, because I know that some of you are using the slow-growing birds instead of fast-growing birds, you must know that, for example, the PSC meat can happen more often when you use slow-growing birds because they are more active on the shackle line. And you also have to know that the acid meat is more frequent in slow-growing birds because they have a natural amount of glycogen higher than the fast-growing birds. Now I will tell you about, give you some information regarding the new defects, myopathic defects, and explain you what happens to explain the appearance of these new defects. In fact, in the fast-growing broilers, especially when the birds are slaughtered at heavy weight, and when the breast muscle is very well developed, there is some fiber degeneration or fiber necrosis. Here you can see. And either you can have a fiber regeneration, like here, for example. You can have also this kind of phenomenon, which is called fiber splitting. And you also have the replacement of fiber here by connective tissue, like here, for example, or here. In this kind of muscle, because you have an extension of the connective tissue around the fiber, you can see that most of the blood vessel or capillaries are really disconnected from the muscle fiber. And this is very important from my point of view because it will lower the nutrient and the oxygen supply to the fibers. So this will affect really the energy status of the muscle. And we also demonstrate that there is a change in muscle typology towards more slow contractile fibers, here, for example, in regenerative fibers. And this affects the function really and the contractibility of the muscle. But maybe the main change, which has a lot of effect on quality, is the replacement of muscle fibers here by extracellular matrix. I mean connective tissue, like here, and also adipose tissue. So here you can see in a normal muscle, you have mostly fibers. I would say almost 100% of the muscle is fibers, maybe not 100, and you have just only a few connective tissue around the fibers to maintain the integrity of the muscle. But when you have defects, you can see that you have really an extension around the fibers of the connective tissue. And in the case of wooden breast, this extension is very dramatic. And you must know that, for example, if we talk about water holding capacity, which is very important for poultry meat, all this part of the muscle will not be able to retain water. So this will have a huge consequence on meat quality. And you can see that on this nice study of Moudalal, where they show that when the breast muscle is showing wooden breast or wooden breast and white stripping, the cooking loss is very high, and the marinade uptake is very low. So this will affect a lot the processing yield of this kind of meat. And this is very interesting because in the same time you can see that in this muscle there is an increase in ultimate pH, but even if the ultimate pH is increased, you have a very bad impact of the myopathy on the water holding capacity. So as I showed you, this variation in muscle properties will greatly affect meat quality, and this will affect also production costs, especially when there is further processing of the meat. And really, to better control the muscle properties and meat quality, we need to better understand the impact of the different factors of production. I mean genetic, nutrition, but also management. And today I will try to give you an overview about what we know about the impact of all these factors on meat quality, to try to help a better management of birds and to try to keep the optimal quality of the meat. So I will start by some knowledge in genetics. So what we know is that most of meat quality parameters are under a strong genetic control. Here you have several results regarding a commercial modern line, I mean fast-growing line or slow-growing line. And in all kinds of birds, we know that the genetic control of meat quality parameters is very high. For example, here you can see that between 30% or 50% of the control of meat ultimate pH is under genetic control, which means that we can select this parameter. And this is true for also the color of the meat, the water holding capacity, but also the texture of the meat. So, for this reason, we try to select the ultimate pH of the meat, because we know that the ultimate pH is a determinant factor for most of the quality traits. And in a sixth generation of selection, we were able to change a lot the average pH of the line. And the difference between the low pH and the high pH line is about 0.5. As I told you before, the ultimate pH is really connected to all other quality parameters. I mean color, drip loss, cooking loss, and toughness, for example. And you can see here the result of the selection on ultimate pH. Here you have the high ultimate pH line, and here the low ultimate pH line. And you can see, just by looking this picture and also this graph, that there is a big difference in lightness, in drip loss, in toughness, measured by the Warner-Brasler shear force, and also in processing yield. You can see here the huge difference in drip loss, for example. And we also show that by increasing the pH of the meat, we reduce the oxidation index, and therefore we improve the oxidative stability of the meat. We also look at the processing ability of the high and low ultimate pH meat. And here you can see that when you process the meat in white ham, for example, if the meat is acid, the curing cooking yield and the slicing yield will be very bad compared to the one observed with the high ultimate pH meat. And also from a sensorial point of view, you can see that here the aspect is more homogeneous. The meat is also, the product is also more juicy and less oxidized. So there is really an interest to produce meat with a higher pH, especially for further processing. But we have also designed a study to understand which effect of the selection on muscle metabolism and cell, and if this selection for high pH induce cellular disturbance. And we figure out that by selecting muscle for high pH, by reducing the glycogen content, we also increase the oxidative stress in this muscle, and we increase the muscle proteolysis and amino acid catabolism. And we know that these two phenomena are involved in the setup of myopathies. So we have to be aware that by changing the glycogen content and by decreasing the glycogen content of muscle, we may have a risk to induce and to increase the prevalence of myopathic condition. And here you can see, for example, that in this muscle, you have already a change in typology, as we can see in case of myopathy. Now, I would like to give you some information regarding the impact of poultry nutrition on meat quality. And I will focus this part on amino acid and protein supply, because I know that this supply is very important, especially under hot conditions. So the first evidence that nutrition can affect breast meat properties was a study made in 2008, and it was the first time that we showed that, for example, by supplementing with lysine, we were able to increase the breast meat yield, which was very known, but we were also able to increase the ultimate pH of the meat with positive impact on drip loss. So after this interesting result, we would like to understand a little bit more between the relationship between protein supply and meat quality. And we designed another study by changing the dietary protein intake from 23% to 17%. And what we have shown, so the diet were isocaloric, and there was no replacement by synthetic amino acid in this case. And we show that by lowering the protein supplied during the finishing period, we decrease the glycogen of the muscle, and the result was an increased pH with a positive consequence on meat quality. Especially, we decrease the drip loss, and we lower the paleness of the meat. But in this case, we also affect greatly the growth and the breast meat yield. So in a more recent study, we look at the effect of low dietary protein while maintaining amino acid supply. And here you have a part of the diet composition. So we decrease from 19 to 16% while supplementing with different amino acids. So this allows to maintain the performance. Here you have the body weight at slaughter, but also the breast meat yield. But you can see that, like we have already shown, lowering the dietary protein increase the ultimate pH of the meat and has also positive impact on drip loss. So to try to understand what mechanisms were under this observation, we tried to modelize the muscle response in terms of ultimate pH regarding first the lysine intake and the intake in other essential amino acids. So here we design 12 diets varying in lysine content from 7 to 11. And we also change the intake in other essential amino acids by lowering the ratio lysine amino acid to lysine to 90%, and by increasing this ratio to 10%. So, and we can show that, for example, when you supply broilers with excess in amino acid relatively to lysine, you favor the energy storage in muscle, I mean the glycogen content, and you produce acid meat in green here. You can see here that we also demonstrate again by giving a high protein content conduct also to acid meat. And in this condition, when you limit the amino acid intake, you also limit the ability of muscle to store energy. And therefore, the meat produced is characterized by a high ultimate pH. So this study was interesting because it really showed that the way you will feed the broilers before slaughter will have an impact, a real impact on energy storage in muscle, especially glycogen storage, and will have an impact on meat quality. And this is also true even if you change only 3 days before slaughter. In the study before, it was 15 days before slaughter, but in this particular study, we only changed the amino acid supply during 3 days, and again, we can see different response in terms of pH. And on this last study, we also measured the impact on the production cost of changing the meat quality. And you can see here that, for example, by giving diet rich in lysine and poor in other amino acid, will help to produce meat with high ultimate pH for a very low cost, because the strategy is very short. But if you add all the gain, for example, because we were able to show that this has a nice impact on breast meat yield, but also on curing cookie yield. If you add all the benefit you have until the end of the processing, you can see that by giving a diet, you can reduce your production cost quite effectively. And on the other side, if the diet proposed to the bird at the end of the rearing is not good, you can lose a lot of money, especially during the storage and the further processing. So here I just give you some recent results about nutrition and myopathies. Just to tell you that until now, there is no really efficient nutritional strategy able to decrease the occurrence of white stripping or wooden breast without affecting performance. I mean that if you affect performance and if you reduce performance, you will also reduce this defect. But if you try to change, for example, the growth curve without affecting the final performance, you cannot reduce the occurrence of this defect. And also some people try to give some supplementation, especially to avoid oxidative stress, which is involved in the occurrence of this defect, but none of these solutions have been effective to reduce these new myopathies. So let's go now to the last part of the talk, and I will focus especially on thermal condition and meat quality. So what you must know is that hot condition, either chronic or acute, will increase oxidative stress, and I think many people tell you about that before. And here you have an illustration with an increase in the mitochondrial activity, especially peroxide production under heat stress, which was increased. You will have, there is also evidence in the literature that there is an increase in muscle membrane damage, and this is measured through creatine kinase in the plasma. There is also an increase in lipid and protein oxidation, and you will see that this will affect the storage ability of the meat. And there is also some evidence that heat stress can affect meat ultimate pH and water holding capacity. So I will just give you some illustration about all this phenomenon. And finally, I found this study of Wang in 2009, who showed that actually in this study, birds were exposed to heat, very high temperature, 41, so the mortality was quite high, for 1, 2, 3, or 5 hours. And it's very interesting because you can see that the treatment, as long as the treatment, the effect will be worst. And there is a trend to have a lower pH. And the hypothesis is that in this condition, birds are able to save more their glycogen in muscle. There is also an increase in MDA, which is the index of peroxidation, lipid peroxidation. It will increase with the treatment. And there is also an increase in protein oxidation. Here you can see the sarcoplasmic protein and myofibrillar protein. So basically, heat stress, this is a nice demonstration that heat stress will produce PSC acid meat, because you can see also here you have a decrease in the initial pH, which means that it affects the initial rate of pH loss. And also, this will lead to the production of oxidized meat. And both of these this will have quite important impact on drip loss, for example, on water holding capacity. And you can see here that with the treatment, there is a big increase in drip loss, and there is also a big effect on cooking loss. Heat stress, an acute heat stress just before slaughter can also have the same kind of impact. And here you can see that in the tight meat, there is also, here you have the heat-treated birds, there is also, like the study before, a decrease in ultimate pH with some negative impact on processing yield. And finally, just to talk about incubation, we have the Anne Collin has demonstrated that heat manipulation during incubation to improve thermal resistance of birds can also have an impact on meat quality. And here you can see by applying early and late acclimation, will affect the final quality of the product by reducing the ultimate pH and by increasing the drip loss. So now I will give you just some take-home messages. Just to tell you that because of the shift towards value-added product and further products, controlling meat functional properties has become a very important issue for the industry. And as I showed you, you can see that if there is a low control and a bad control of meat quality, this can greatly affect the production cost. But you can also see that because meat quality has been poorly considered when defining breeding or rearing practices, especially nutrition, it remains highly variable. And you can see that the incidence of meat quality defects is increasing rapidly. And therefore, there is still a need for research to model muscle response to selection and rearing condition, especially nutrition, to better understand how to adapt nutrition to the quality goal and to the quality objective. And it's also important to consider the interaction between nutrition and climate condition. So I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Cecile. So we'll have one quick question. I think the question's probably coming up due to time constraint.
Okay, I can answer the first
that'll be
one.
great, yeah.
Actually, there is no publication right now, no published result about that, but there is some hypothesis that hot condition will favor will favor breast myopathy, and because as I showed you, hot condition will favor oxidative stress, and we know that oxidative stress is one of the problem in myopathy. So we can imagine that if we combine the high growth and also heat stress, we can increase the incidence of this kind of myopathy. But in another side, we also know that heat condition will decrease the performance of the bird, so somehow it can also protect them from the myopathy. So I don't have really the answer, but I think it could be interesting. It would be interesting to study this interaction.
Thank you, Dr. Berry. Please join me in thanking Dr. Berry for her presentation.